Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy Sabbath. Let me turn up the volume. So we've prayed already, so I'll go straight into it. So as far as I understand, what Elder Parminder has been teaching recently in the final couple of presentations in Canada, and then again at the UK Day of Fellowship, is that individually we're all sealed in 2024. Correct me if I'm wrong. But no surprises. We always knew he put the seal of God and the mark of the beast at the Sunday law waymark, and that he said it's individual and then it's corporate after the Sunday law. So we're sealed, and now the movement just has to go through to Daniel 12:1, which we know we will, because we're a line of success. That's how I understand it. So I thought, oh yeah, another thing actually. Okay, we'll leave that. Okay, so basically I thought I would move on and look at Daniel 12:1 now, as that's the next major waymark. I always start out so nervous. I don't know why. I'm doing this years. Yes, okay, the other thing.
Welcome to the club, Aaron.
Yeah, why does it never go away? By the way, that's a no health insurance solution to my broken finger. If you're wondering what it's waving around.
No.
I got a metal plate and I just taped it to my finger so it stays straight.
Oh my God.
Anyway, okay. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so today's gonna be a bit different because I need to do today's presentation all in one sitting. I can't really do it in two parts. So if it's all right with you, I thought we'd cut out the discussion, but still questions. I'm probably going to end up asking questions. That's just how I present. And please do ask questions if something's not clear, if you want me to go back over anything. So feel free to ask questions, but not bring up sort of comments, observations.
Hey, Aaron.
Yes.
Quick question. Where did you just said that Harminder was talking about the seal and everything? Which presentations was that? And I'll shut up. I'm sorry.
From memory, it's Canada Part 4 from 1:07 onwards, 1 hour 7 minutes, and then all of Part 5 and the whole of the UK Day of Fellowship.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'll get straight into it.
Aaron, could you repeat that, please?
Yes, it was Canada Part 4. I think it was 1 hour and 7 minutes onwards. You know, take it from an hour or whatever. Part 4, and then Part 5 was the last episode, if you like, the last presentation of Canada. And then he picked it up again in the UK Day of Fellowship, I think. If I'm wrong, if anyone remembers differently, please shout out. Okay. So today's a new one. I'm just going to stick to my notes and hope we get through it. Okay, so as you know from the forum, if you were reading the forum, I thought I'd present the trumpets today from the east wind. So I'm going to start with Elder Parminder's model that he did in Tahiti in May 2019. Okay. He had, so this was the Syrian Wars on top, and he had the first Syrian War started in 1831 and went till 1833. And then there was a 6-year gap, and the second Syrian War was 1839. To 1841. And you'll remember one of the points he was making is that you can also put the restraint of Islam, August 11th, 1840, here. Troy. Okay. Okay, so that was simple enough. He put a 2-year period here and a 2-year period here, made a point of that, and then he made application to the Syrian civil war in our time. And he said 2011 to 2013 and 2019 to 2021. Okay. So I know he presented it in the context of the east wind, but in the context of how the Millerites would have seen it, I think they would have seen it as a battle between the king of the north and the king of the south. The king of the north would be Turkey, Ottomans, and the king of the south would be Egypt. So in this, I'll call it the alpha. I'll call this the alpha. This is the king of the north, Turkey, versus the king of the south, Egypt, fighting over the proxy Syria. And the king of the south wins. So I'm going to put Egypt wins. I'll put Egypt because if you want to look at it in the context of east wind, Egypt works, or the king of the south. And then in this one, Turkey wins. Okay. By the way, in the application he makes to our time, I think the king of the north wins both of them, don't you think? This would be the Arab Spring, and this would be the end of this. Oh, sorry, the end of the Syrian civil war. I think Assad won that.
And wasn't 19 and 21 victories? Well, 21 would have been a victory for the king of the north, but 19 is the king of the south.
So just using the Syrian civil war, I'm not looking at Ukraine. Are you thinking of Ukraine? When you say the king of the north?
No, the Ipsis Heraclea Asculum Beneventum.
I don't think he was doing that. I see what you mean. It's still king of the north versus king of the south.
Yep.
Didn't think of that, so I'm not ready to answer it. But I'll move on anyway. Good point, though. Thank you for bringing that up. Because this is the Syrian civil war. Okay. I think Ipsus 26. The battle you mentioned would have been Ukraine, wouldn't it? Where the king of the north
19 would have been Raphia, 21 would have been Panium.
21's Panium, of course it is. Okay, I'll move on. I'm just going to have to.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't say sorry. That was a really good point. Thanks. Okay, so if we stick to the Syrian civil war, I'm actually thinking Assad won the Arab Spring and the Syrian civil war. So in that way, let's put. I'll put Assad. Which would be a victory for the king of the south, wouldn't it? Because Assad was Putin's. Okay. Assad wins. Okay. So some takeaways from this. So some takeaways from this. The actors, the prophetic actors stay the same. So this, in this alpha history, this is the king of the north versus the king of the south fighting over Syria. And this is the king of the north versus the king of the south fighting over Syria. So the actors stay the same. I won't write it down just for time, because I do want to get through. Second takeaway, the winner and the loser can flip. It can flip, sorry. So Egypt wins here in the alpha, and Turkey wins in the omega. So that can change. And the time period does not change. You've got 2 years and 2 years. at the beginning and the end. We call it bookending, don't we? Now, as I said, Elder Parminder did this in 2019, May. I wrote down Tahiti, yeah. And he had this here, 2021, and actually he had this middle way mark 2020. So he must have been really confident in this model, in this methodology, that this is all airtight, to use it for time setting. Okay, I can't stress that enough. This methodology has to be airtight, at least in Parminder's mind, okay, because he used it to make a prediction, he used it for time setting. In other words, if you see 2 years here, you know you're going to have 2 years here, okay, 2019 to 2021. Okay, so question, where did he get that model from? I think if you're in the IPR forum yesterday, the only model I can think of that he would have got that from is this 6th trumpet. Just quickly, can anyone think of any other model where we do that, where we have these battles or whatever, and you bookend it like that? Can't think of any. So while you're thinking, I'll carry on. Drink. Okay, now this is just an observation. It's not really part of this study. But I noticed the trumpets are like the heads of Revelation 17, I think. So the heads and the trumpets, the first 4 are pagan. And the last 3 introduce a new religion. So you have that church and state element. In the heads of Revelation 17, that church would basically be Christianity, we could call it. And in the trumpets, it would be Islam. Actually, that is quite important in a minute. So there's an observation. Also, the trumpets, the east wind, and the king of the north, or the army of Rome, the United States, they do have a relationship, don't they? It's not a good one. But the prophetic role of the east wind is to punish the army of Rome. So if you compare and contrast them, you can see you've got the 4 and the 3. They do have a relationship, and they share the same symbols, don't they? I did that a couple of years ago. Things like horses, the kings of the east, can't remember. Locusts as well. Okay. So we'll move to the 6th trumpet now. Any questions while I take a drink? Okay, so we move to the 6th trumpet, and we've got 1449. Okay. And then the 6th trumpet ends in 1844. That was William Foy. If you remember years ago, we used to talk about this a lot. William Foy, the 6th angel hath not yet done sounding. Okay. And whatever date it was, anyway, we worked out that was 1844, and I think you can get it from the text as well. Is that the angering of the nations and stuff like that? Anyway, but then so that would be the trumpet, 1449 to 1844. And then there's a woe portion, a woe element to the trumpet as well, which goes from 1449. This would be the woe. To 1840. Okay, and we know that because it says this is the hurting. This is where the east wind first hurts the army of Rome and then kills the army of Rome. So this killing, it'll say that they killed people for an hour a day, a month, and a year. Okay, brings you to August 11th, 1840. So the woe part ends here. So you can see, and this is back in FFA days, as you know, from the IPR forum. Someone very clever worked this out, and you've got this 4-year period here. And then somebody from FFA noticed that you could do this. Read. 1453. And that's because this is the killing of the Byzantine Empire, the army of Rome, and it started in 1449, but actually Constantinople, which we mark as the killing, when you take the capital of an empire, that's when you really have killed it, when you've taken it. And that happened in the Battle of Constantinople in 1453, when the Ottomans took Constantinople from the Byzantines. Okay, so basically what we did back there was, notice you've got this 4-year period at the omega of that trumpet, and you've also got a 4-year period at the alpha. And that's all, I'll call it old light. As I say, that was done, I think it was 2015, just from memory, not too sure. Okay. So, let's stay with this one. Okay, so when I was doing those one-to-one classes with Tess, the last thing we studied was the East Wind and Islamic Bible prophecy, and then it got interrupted before we finished because she retired. So I'm just going to draw from some of the things that she looked at in those classes. You either just believe me or you go with the logic anyway. No matter who said it, I think the logic works. Okay. So she said 1840 and 1844 is the end of the sixth trumpet. Those two dates stay together. Okay, I'm going to quote from her notes. So this is Elder Tess. The sixth, she means the sixth trumpet, the sixth then bookends the period of power for the Ottoman Empire, taking it from 1449 to 1840/1844. I just want to skip down. Okay, I won't skip. I better not skip around because I haven't presented this before. I'm not confident enough to do that. So quoting Elder Tess again. The end of this, oh, it's here. The end of the sixth trumpet, 1840 and 1844. So she's saying that this is the end, and she's saying you can't really separate these two dates. So in effect, we would say the end of the sixth trumpet is 1844. She's saying it's 1840 to 1844. Does that make sense? Okay. Quoting Elder Tess again. While Lich predicted the downfall of the Ottoman Empire in 1840 and understand its August 11th fulfillment, we have known from the vision of Foy that in 1842 the sixth trumpet had not ended. I, Elder Tess, suggest that these trumpets from the first trumpet to this point in time always are connected to the external events and not the internal. They always reference the powers attacking Rome, and from the 5th through the 7th, the Islamic powers. Therefore, the ending of the sixth trumpet being 1844 must signify external events. I don't think we know why. So this is what was happening. We looked at it, and the sixth trumpet ends in 1844. And she said, why? What happened? Why did the sixth trumpet end in 1844? So, therefore, the ending of the sixth trumpet being 1844 must signify external events, though they may be connected to the internal, the Minorites, and external events regarding, though they may be connected to the internal and external events regarding the Ottoman Empire. So she's saying this would be an external event because it's a trumpet, but there may be an internal and external event regarding the Ottoman Empire. I'm messing this up. Have I lost anyone? I don't mind going back. I probably should.
Kind of, yes, please.
Yeah. I tell you what, let me go through to the end, then I'll go right, because then you'll know where I'm going. Okay. Therefore, I'll read that bit again. Therefore, the ending of the sixth trumpet, being 1844, must signify external events, though they may be connected to the internal and external events regarding the Ottoman Empire. So what occurred in 1844? So what occurred in 1844 that completed the work of subjugating the Ottoman Empire and therefore ending the sixth trumpet? So that's where she's going. She wants to know what happened in 1844. Okay, now I'm just going to start back from the beginning and read it through. Okay, so again, this is Elder Test. The sixth then bookends the period of power for the Ottoman Empire, taking it from 1449 to 1840, 1844. Okay, the end of the sixth trumpet, 1840 and 1844. While Lich predicted the downfall of the Ottoman Empire in 1840 and I think she means understood its August the 11th fulfillment, we have known from the vision of Foy that in 1842, the sixth trumpet had not ended. I suggest that these trumpets from the first to this point in time always are connected to the external events and not the internal. Excuse me. They always reference the powers attacking Rome, and from the 5th through the 7th, the Islamic powers. Therefore, the ending of the sixth trumpet being in 1844 must signify external events, though they may be connected to the internal and external events regarding the Ottoman Empire. So, what occurred in 1844 that completed the work of subjugating the Ottoman Empire and therefore ending the sixth trumpet? So what she's saying is, this was the restraint of the Ottoman Empire, the end of the Ottoman Empire, August 11th, 1840. She's saying, well, this must be another end, the final end, if you like. Okay, does all that make sense? I don't want to lose a single person. Anyone? That summary was basically it, though.
So it's progressive?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Simple.
aren't they're marked at this might be confusing, as a final end at the end of World War II. World War One,
Yeah.
sorry. World War One. Okay.
Okay. We don't seem to factor that into prophecy. I guess God sees the end of a kingdom differently to people.
Yeah.
Acquiescing your power means God sees you as finished.
Yeah.
Puppet kings, all of that stuff. Okay, so to continue on, this is still quoting Elder Tess. Suggestion: these three trumpets are church and state combined. So when she says church, she would mean mosque. Okay, she mean the religion of Islam, as opposed to the state of Islam, the governments. Okay, again, suggestion: these three trumpets are church and state combined. August 11th, 1840, fulfilled the time prophecy and ended the woe, but it addressed the state. I think I'll put state there now. So that's the end of the Ottoman government, but it addressed the state. 1844 ends the trumpet, but addressing the church power, Islamic power of the Ottoman Empire. Should I put church, or would that be confusing? Because I don't think mosque is the right. What should I put? Religion? I'll put
Religion would be good.
So somehow in 1844, Elder Tess saw the restraint of the religion of Islam.
Now that makes total sense that it's in two parts.
Yes, exactly. Okay, and this is what she found. She says that this restraint here is called the Edict of Toleration, EDICT, the Edict of Toleration. In other words, is the Ottomans now, they're going to start tolerating something that they weren't tolerating before. I'll give the game away. It's infidels. They used to persecute and kill them. Okay, so the Edict of Toleration, 1844. On 21st of March, and she liked that date. She liked that it happened to be 21st of March, 1844. You know, the Karaite calendar and all of that. On 21st of March, 1844, the Sublime Porte of the Ottoman Empire submitted a note to the British and French embassies promising to cease the executions of apostates from Islam. In the Baha'i faith, so this is a branch of Islam called Baha'i, I think it is Baha'i, B-A-H-A-I, okay, B-A-H-A-I. In the Baha'i faith, this is known as the Edict of Toleration and has a prophetic significance. Okay, I won't get into that. So basically that's what she's saying is the restraint of the religion of Islam in 1844, ending the sixth trumpet. They're going to stop killing infidels, basically. Okay, continuing on, this is now still Elder Tess. 1840 and 1844 symbolize the deadly wound and death, much as we see 1989 to 1991. Does all that make sense? Any questions? (1840 and 1844) symbolize the deadly wound and death, much as we see 1989 to 1991. These dates signify the end of the woe and the end of the trumpet, but also restraining separately the state power and the Islamic church power of the Ottoman Empire. Okay, and then she said there's two dates in this, there's two significant dates in this Edict of Toleration. Okay, so this is her again. Both of these, these are the two dates. March 21st, 1844, note received by the British and French embassies, promising to not persecute infidels anymore. And April 19, 1844, she liked that date too, same reason. April 19, 1844, ending of correspondence on this issue. Okay, so the first correspondence, March 21st, 1844, the final correspondence, April 19th, 1844. Both of these dates are internally significant waymarks of the Millerite movement, and yet when we build it up as a structure, had no place in the reform lines. Don't worry too much about it. Perhaps this is an explanation for their internal significance in the Millerite movement, the ending of the sixth trumpet.
Could you repeat that last couple of sentences?
Sure.
Thank you.
March 21st and April 19, 1844, correspondence beginning and ending. Both of these dates are internally significant waymarks of the Millerite movement. And yet, when we build it up as a structure, or put it on a line, they had no place on the, have no place on the reform lines. Let me finish, then I'll explain that. Perhaps this is an explanation for their internal significance, the ending of the sixth trumpet. Okay, for I think several years, we used April 19th, 1844 as a waymark. Can't remember what it was, Second Angel's Message or something? Anyway, and then at some point, it was something like 2021, I can't remember, Elder Tess dropped it because she couldn't find an external event, and we switched it to whatever. I can't remember, because once you drop something, I don't need to remember it anymore. But now, this would, I think, be the end of 2021 we were doing this. My mind, now she's found an external waymark for April 19th. That's all that means. It's not actually relevant to this study too much. Okay, anyone else need me to repeat anything? I think I'm
Thank
doing
you,
really
Aaron,
well.
for the review. Which presentation of Elder Tess is that you're reading right now?
So it's not a presentation. It was a one-to-one class that we had.
Oh,
and
okay.
I would write my notes, she would write her notes, and we'd send them to each other and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. What we have is the following, she says: Ottoman Empire, 1840, deadly wound, state. 1844, death, church. Byzantine Empire. So now she's going to do what Elder Parminder did here. She's going to say 1449, deadly wound. and 1453 death. Okay, and we already know that's correct because that was actually when the Byzantine Empire was killed because they took the capital Constantinople, as I said. Elder Tess again, I would like to suggest that these two 4-year time periods show the prophetic significance of both 1453 and 1844. And that combining the application, I won't go into that. I'm not holding anything back. I'll read it, you'll see it's nothing. And that combining the application of both Lich and Bickersteth in the light of Foy's vision completes our picture of the sixth trumpet. And in her notes, she writes all about Bickersteth, and I'm not going to present that here. That's why that's not significant today. Okay, so for the 1449 story, the Ottomans take Constantinople by force. So this is what's happening. In October of 1448, John Palaeologus, the emperor, I guess, dies, the king, whatever. And then in January 1449, his brother, Constantine Palaeologus, takes the throne. And I've already said FFA did this because we knew this was the killing. So we've already done this. Yeah, 1453, the army, this isn't Tess anymore, this is me, sorry. 1453, the army of Rome actually died when Mehmet II took Constantinople, killing the army of Rome, May 1453. And by the way, Constantine Palaeologus also died in this battle of Constantinople. So I think a nice point is that the pioneers, they had all this information, but they didn't put it on a line. They knew the history of 1453. They wrote all about it. They're very aware. But it's only when you put it on a line that you can do parable methodology, alpha and omega, or maybe a chiasm, or line upon line, repeat of history. And that's what FFA did. Put it on a line and discovered hidden treasure. Oh yeah, and when Elder Parminder did it, he also discovered hidden treasure and he used it for time setting and he made a prediction. Okay, so this deadly wound and death here is the army of Rome. And this deadly wound and death is the east wind. It's the east wind that kills the army of Rome here. That's not a thing, is it? That pattern doesn't repeat back here. I'll carry on. Let me check something. No, it doesn't.
Maybe to
Okay.
note that there's, in that time period, 1840-44, that's a time period where there is no King of the North.
There's no army of Rome, King of the North. Yeah, it's actually the four great powers of Europe that
Right.
restrain the Ottoman. So I don't know what they would be a symbol of. Okay. 14th. So
Can you, hi, Aaron.
please.
Can you repeat that point there that you are just about to make on the east wind?
Okay, so this is the death of the army of Rome, and this is the death of the east wind. And I was thinking of this kind of pattern that the death is the east wind that kills the army of Rome here, and then I was going to do that here, and it doesn't work. It's not. So that's why I stopped, because it's the four great powers of Europe that kill the east wind here, not the army of Rome. So you can't flip it the way it's flipped here. These are the same actors. Does that make sense?
So in that actual literal history of that, I believe you are alluding to the Second War there. So it is the east wind that actually get killed, or just
Here, yes. This is the end of the Ottoman Empire. And the Ottoman Empire would be Islam in Bible prophecy.
so they get killed.
Yes.
Okay.
that make sense?
There's no king of the north for them to kill
Yeah.
in
So
that
it
history.
comes- Okay, so there's something I didn't notice. One of these takeaways, let me check. I said the actors stay the same, but apparently they don't. I didn't notice that before. Did
So
I say that?
one other thing before you proceed there. So if they get killed there by the Christian powers in that period, 1840, 1844 that you have there, so who gets to be the king of the north?
Okay, so the king. So this is another thing. Okay, the king of the north in this period to the Millerites was Turkey. Do you remember how I've said many times it's easy to get the king of the north mixed up, the symbols of the king of the north mixed up with the symbols of the east wind, and I just mentioned locusts and things like that. Horses, you know, chariots and horses, or the horses of Revelation 9. What was your question?
So the Ottoman Empire has been in power from during the whole duration of First War and the Second War. So when they are done away with there in that period that you have marked their deadly wood and death, so who is the who assumes power? Who is the world superpower, or who is, because now they are not, the crown is taken away. So who is the power that assumes that position? Who is the global world power?
I'm thinking to answer Europe or the four great powers of Europe. Does anyone
It's
agree
the
or
Christian
disagree?
powers. Would you say that?
Could do, maybe. Anyone? Was Prussia Christian? Who was it? Prussia,
What
Russia,
Christian
France?
power? The four great Christian powers.
They were? Okay. So that's my best guess, is it becomes the four great powers, because they basically dominated Turkey, because they said, if you hand over your power to us, we'll hold back Egypt for you. Egypt was hegemonous, and Egypt was threatening the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire wasn't strong enough to handle Egypt on its own. So it says to Europe, help. And they say, okay, but you've got to sign over your power to us. And so you can see it's Europe that's more powerful than the Ottoman Empire at that stage, and more powerful than Egypt, because they're also able to restrain Egypt. They actually win, you know, the battle at Egypt. By the way, something interesting, August 11th, 1840 is the diplomatic. September the 11th, 1840 is when the military action starts against Egypt. Does that make sense? I'm moving on. Did it
Yeah,
answer?
you can move on. I was just curious to see how you are going to make the application of Islam being done away with during that period. Deadly wood and death.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So let me just read. 1449, the Alpha. Constantine Paleologus was a puppet to the Ottomans. So what happened here is Constantine Paleologus takes the throne from his brother who just died, but because the Ottomans had taken basically everything except Constantinople, the Ottomans were more powerful than Constantine Paleologus. So he has to ask permission of them first. And he says, dear Ottomans, is it all right with you if I take the throne? And they say, yeah, sure, go ahead. So he's acquiescing to them. They said, by the way, they say, yeah, sure, go ahead, because we're going to kill you in a few years anyway. He dies in that battle at the hand of the Ottomans, obviously. So you have that. And then here, the same thing happens, but it's the other way around. So you've got alpha to omega. If you want to know what the omega looks like, you look at the alpha, but this time it's flipped. Remember I said things were flipped from here to here, from here to here. And this time it's the Ottomans that have to acquiesce their power to the four great powers of Europe, and they become like a puppet, if you like, or whatever. So you've got that similarity. So Constantinople was taken by force, and the four great powers took the Ottoman Empire peacefully. And then as you know from yesterday in the IPR forum, if you were there, 4 is a symbol of progressive destruction. Okay, now you know I'm going to need help. But I think Elder Parminder's put it in the record already. I feel like it was 2019, I'm not sure. That 4 is the symbol or a number for progressive destruction. And we had, Olivine was helping me and Bob. We had the locusts of Joel 1 and 2, the 4 locusts, the cankerworm and all of that. The 4 periods in the Seventh-day Adventist history.
The 25-20. The Leviticus 26.
Yes. Okay. So we do have 3 witnesses. And of course, this is a deadly wound and death. So progressive destruction. I think it fits. By the way, this is me now. This is me or FFA or history or whatever. This isn't Elder Tess. I just want to make a difference. It might matter to somebody. Okay. So if we're okay there, I'll move now to the 5th trumpet after I turn the fan off. Any questions?
I have a comment.
Wait, yes, go ahead.
So the way you shared how it flips in 1449, and then for the east wind, the Ottomans have to do the same thing that Constantine, whatever his name is. Would that fit that Bible verse in Revelation about he who lives by the sword dies by the sword, but in a different application, not necessarily a sword, but like, you know, how you treat somebody is how you're going to be treated at the end.
Yes, I quite like that. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So we'll move to the 5th trumpet. Okay, now, what did we used to put here? As far as I remember, I think the way I've taught it is I just used to put that this is Muhammad, you know, the star falling from heaven, the beginning of the 5th trumpet. So this would be some, yeah, what goes around comes around. That's another. So this would be something like about 630 AD, Muhammad. Does anyone remember differently? And then, of course, this is 1449, so the end of the 5th trumpet would be 1449. And then if you put the woe in, this is when the east wind will hurt everyone for 5 months. So it's that's the first woe, hurting the army of Rome. So something Mary said, that this is the 5th trumpet is the Ottomans. It's not, the whole of the 5th trumpet isn't the Ottomans. The Ottomans start here when they have a king over them or something like that, I seem to remember. Yeah, when all the different tribes were united, because before that there was various different tribes, I think. Anyway, I think we call this the Saracens or the Caliphate, something like that, but it wasn't the Ottomans. Okay, we're getting there. So what happened 1299? Just a quick refresher, July 27th, 1299. Osman I, I guess that was the king over them. Osman or Uthman or Ottoman. Osman I takes Nicomedia. And this is the beginning of Othman's assault on the Byzantine Empire, first hurting the army of Rome. Okay, so now we could add 1453, because we know it's part of that story, if you're all right with that. So note, we are going outside the parameters of the 5th trumpet. But I'm thinking if Elder Tess says you've got to keep these together, I'm thinking it would probably be okay to keep these together, even though we're outside the parameters of this trumpet. Does that sound okay? (1453). This is me, not Tess. Okay. And she's already said deadly wound and death, hasn't she?
Hey, Aaron, is the 1453 the same date? 727? A vague memory of those. No? May?
No.
Okay.
27 July gives you a little bit of a problem. So this was May. 27th of July, then you add 5 months, you get to 27th of July. And then you add an hour a day and a month and a year, and you get to August 11th, 1840. But nothing happened on 27th of July.
Ah, okay.
So it seems to be just a way of calculating time, but nothing actually happened. Or at least, you know, if Elder Tess didn't retire, I have some confidence maybe she could have found something, because she found what happened here. So maybe someone else could do that. Okay. So if you've got deadly wound death here, deadly wound death here, and here, I'm thinking you should have deadly wound death here, don't you think?
So Muhammad's death was 632, if we're looking at that. I don't know if there's anything specific to the deadly wounded death in relation to that.
Great minds think alike. Okay, so you've got a 4-year period.
Don't scare me like that.
You've got a 4-year period here. So I'm going to say, stands to reason, doesn't it? Elder Parminder thought this was pretty solid. Elder Jeff thought it was solid. And Tess. And that's all 3 messengers. So 4-year period here. Okay, now you just get to work backwards. What does that come out to? 628, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not Elder Tess. Oh, spoiler. This is going to sound great, but there's problems with it, okay? This is probably the weakest part of this whole class today, is this bit. But it's going to sound great when I do it now. Okay, so again, this isn't Elder Tess. So what happened in 628? This was the death of Muhammad. Again, death of East Wind, death of the army of Rome. Yeah, okay. So it's flipped again. Anyway, okay, the death of Muhammad. Muhammad died a natural death, though his earlier exposure to poison, probably arsenic, in 628 may have contributed to his decline. I've said this isn't Tess yet. Okay. So basically, at Khaybar, he was poisoned. Let me just read it. Muhammad tasted it, but quickly stopped eating when he sensed something was wrong. So it wasn't enough to kill him outright, but if it was arsenic, which is the most likely candidate, that would have, could have probably injured his liver and kidneys. If it did, it would leave him weaker with a compromised immune system that may have contributed to his final illness years later in 632 CE, 4 years later. In his final illness, Muhammad mentioned feeling the lingering effects of the poison. So he's mentioning the poison during his final illness, comparing his pain to its return. Okay. Tradition describes this eventual death as being by martyrdom because the poison contributed to it. So you can see what I'm thinking. Deadly wound poison led to his death 4 years later. Okay. 4 years later, he contracts a serious bacterial infection. I'm going to say because, or probably because of his weakened organs from the poison. His body couldn't cope. This explains why the fever raged for 2 weeks and ultimately killed him. I don't know about medicine or arsenic or anything, but that's what I found. So I'm going to go with that for now. This is the deadly wound and death of Muhammad. Does that have room? And this is the deadly wound and death of the army of Rome. Okay. So we've got those top 3 lines. So let's have a look at the 7th trumpet and then we're finished. I'm actually making good time, I think. Okay, 7th trumpet, 1844. We've said that's the death. And again, if Elder Test says you can't separate the ending, that this bookend is the ending, then is it all right if I bring it down to the beginning, even though like here, it goes outside the parameters of this trumpet? So I'll do that anyway. And this would be 1840. Deluge death of the east wind. So we've got 4 and east wind. Okay. And then we know Daniel 12, I said we'll look at Daniel 12:1 in the near future. This is Daniel 12:1. This is the death of the army of Rome or King of the North. Should we stick with army of Rome? Yeah, we have to stick with army of Rome because we get it from the woes. Death of the army.
We just have to update what we mean by Army of Rome for our time.
Yeah, army of Rome would be the United States. Yeah, because in 1989, John Paul II used the United States as his army to bring down the Soviet Union. Okay. Okay, something interesting. So that's restraining the east wind, and that's loosening the east wind. Okay, so that gets flipped. Here, the actors stay the same, because this, I think, this is the east wind. No. Can't figure it out on the spot, but I'm not sure. This is the east wind killing the army of Rome, and whatever that is. We'll figure it out. Anyone got any ideas? Because the problem I'm having is my mind keeps switching that the Ottoman Empire is both the King of the North and Islam. Here, Elder Parminder made it Islam. But in Smith, Daniel 11:40-45, the Ottoman Empire is the King of the North. So that's what's throwing me off. Okay, restraining of the east wind, loosening of the east wind. It's flipped. Now, let's just quickly go back to here, 1844. Okay, now I'm going back to Elder Tess. She said Baha'ism. Have I mentioned them already in this presentation?
Yes.
Yes, I thought so. Okay. Oh yeah, the Edict of Toleration. Okay. I don't know how Baha'ism, forgive my ignorance, I'm terribly sorry. That's the alpha of the 7th trumpet, and Baha'ism, sorry, it's a peaceful form of Islam, which makes sense. That's why they would have imposed upon themselves an edict of toleration to stop persecuting and killing infidels. So they're peaceful. And by the way, they practiced equality for women. If I have time, I'll read some nice quotes. Whereas here it's flipped, and this is Wahhabism, which is not peaceful, it's militant. And that's the omega of the 7th trumpet. So peaceful and militant, equality for women, definitely inequality for women. Okay. So now this is just an internet, this is from the internet, but it was in Elder Tess's notes. She found these quotes. And it's just BahaiTeachings.org. This theology was founded by Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab. Sorry, this is about Wahhabism. So Wahhabism was founded by Wahhab in the mid-1700s. What is not commonly known is that a stark, striking counterpart to this Wahhabi ideology exists, born only 50 years later, also in present-day Saudi Arabia. That counterpart in some ways the exact opposite of Wahhabism, was founded by Sheikh Ahmed. Sheikh Ahmed took Islam down a profoundly different road from Wahhabi theology and paved the way for the birth of a new, peaceful, progressive form of religion known as the Baha'i faith. Okay, second quote, it's from the same webpage. For the Babis, I think that's what they're called, the Babis, B-A-B-I-S. This act signalized, this act, I don't know what act, this act signalized the termination of old Islamic Sharia law, I think it would be talking about this, and the birth of a new divine law, which demanded equality for women, justice for all people, an end to warfare, and a unification of humanity. So, equality for women, an end to warfare, unification of humanity. So, Wahhabism, just at the moment, Al Qaeda, they just want a caliphate. Whereas the Baha'is say unification of humanity. Interestingly, this coincided with a signal event taking place on the other side of the planet. Oh, this is interesting. The first conference to address the emancipation of women in Seneca Falls, New York. Okay, so there's just quite a nice, I'll call it a coincidence, that you've got equality for women in Seneca Falls at the same time as Baha'ism is happening. Okay, this is about the martyrdom of one of the women. I don't think I'll go into that yet. I'll probably carry on presenting this kind of thing. So you've got deadly wound, death. Okay. And then this is the death of the army of Rome. Okay. You okay if I finish there?
Where are you going to put your deadly wound?
Well spotted. So if you've got deadly wound, death, deadly wound, death, deadly wound, death, and how many witnesses is that? You probably have to have a deadly wound. Does anyone disagree? Agree? Well done. Anything else?
Yes,
Or should we close the room?
one more point, please.
Go on.
So you have 4 lines there. And it seems to me like you are tracing the 2 stories of the interaction between the King of the North and Islamic powers. So the first line there, you have the Syrian wars. The second line there, you have the 5th trumpet, and I'm thinking that is specifically the first war there. Yeah, that's the history of the first war, which is 150, 1292, which is basically what you have said. It is the Islamic powers tormenting the King of the North, not necessarily killing it. Then the other line there, the 6th trumpet there, you have the history of the second war. That's what I think you have there from 1449 to 1840 there, which basically is there you have a different King of the North. And my question is, can you clarify who is the King of the North in that the second war? Because we have the second war and the King of the North, and one is getting killed, the one who is getting killed and who is killing it, and then how you make the application in the final line that you have there in the seventh line. Who is the King of the North? What is the power that is killing it? And how is it? Just clarify that, because there's a lot of confusion.
It is confusing, and you've just pointed out why. You know, I've been saying I've been
Yeah.
getting confused over that thing. So I quickly get this thought out, then I'll ask people. The King of the North, you said was the Byzantine Empire. And I'm wondering if that is correct. Because when you asked me before, I said it was the Ottoman Empire, Smith, Daniel 11:40 to 45.
What history is that of the Byzantine Empire? What line are you specifically on?
It's the whole, it's both lines.
So
So
Wasn't the Byzantine the king? It was Eastern Rome, which was the Catholic Church.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Well,
right.
that is the king of the North. It always was.
yeah, but in your line, where do you mark the King of the North? Is that the Byzantine Empire? Is it a deadly wood, death? The second line there and the third line there, where exactly it's because it's important that you note or you clarify the king of the players that are being interacting here. So where exactly do you mark the Byzantine Empire?
So the death of the Byzantine Empire is here.
Okay, and that is the Greek king that you mentioned earlier, Paleologus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and is
And also,
getting
once you take the capital of a country, it's fallen. That's why Putin went after Kiev straight away.
no, without
If you
making the
take-
application. If you just go staying with the literal there.
Okay, sorry. So that's the fall of Constantinople. The
And
death.
particularly that king, because
Well,
that
he
is
was
the
the
thing that you mentioned that acquiesced. There was no literal battle. The king just acquiesced power to the Ottoman.
No. So there was a
1449.
battle. So yeah. So what happens is this Paleologus takes the throne in 1449, but he says to the Ottomans, "Is it okay with you if I take the throne? If you say no, I won't," kind of thing. And the Ottomans say, "Sure, take the throne, no problem. We'll allow you to." So he takes the throne here. And so he's sitting on his throne in Constantinople. Then here, the Ottomans attack Constantinople, kill him, Paleologus, and take the capital.
And that's when the Ottoman became the king of the north.
I'm really mixed up on the King of the North and the Army of Rome. I notice here I put the Army of Rome. I think I should have just put the Byzantine Empire. No, the Army of Rome is the Army of Rome. Sorry, first hurts and then kills the Army of Rome.
But
I'm
the
mixed
Army
up
of Rome just changes because the papacy is still ruling in that
Yeah, this
history.
is the 1260 period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of
Okay.
the question I had because, or not a question, but to add to it all, I think what the confusion is because 1798 marks that deadly wound and death of the King of the North as the Catholic Church. And so the end of the woe is the restraint that's placed upon the east wind.
Yeah, but that's it. The sixth trumpet that you have there, the deadly wood, 1449, and the death. That is the death of the Byzantine Empire. So they are no longer
Yes.
ruling. And the power that comes on scene and is ruling is the Ottoman Empire. The question that I have for Aaron is it possible also to see the King of the North as the Ottoman Empire in that particular history?
So that's
Because they are
exactly
the ones who are going to get killed at the end of that line.
So that's exactly what's confusing me. So I don't really have an answer for you. But the King of the North in Smith's, in Daniel 11:40 to 45, in their history was Turkey, the Ottomans. But we say, in our history, the Army of Rome is the King of the North. And we would make it Rome. We would say Rome is the King of the North in certain applications. So I think you'd have to stick with their history, wouldn't you? And say Turkey is the King of the North back then. So that's what I don't know. I can't answer you.
So there's also in there two Romes. There's a Western Rome and an Eastern Rome. So it's the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire, which is called Byzantine. But the Western part of the empire is papacy.
Yes,
And
Europe.
It is still
interestingly,
papacy. It is still papacy, but
so an
when
interesting
you
thing
come,
about the Eastern Roman Empire is that it has close foundational connection with Russia. They
Mhm.
see their religious foundations as stemming from the Byzantine Empire. That's why
Exactly.
there's the Orthodox beliefs.
Is it okay if we move on? Because I can't
if I
answer your
can say
question now.
something there, without, because we have two other things going there. When you focus on Eastern Rome or the Byzantine, there is the religious aspect of it, and there is the political aspect of it. So when we say they lose power, they are losing the political power, but they still continue the religion. So in the history of 1840, 1841, the Christian powers, they pick up the political power. They become dominant again as a political power controlling the world. That's how I see it. But my thing is, before we make that application on the seventh line, I think we have to clarify clearly who the king of the north is and the rule of Islam before you even make the application.
Okay. I'm going to have to watch this video back again and take everything on board, Mary, because I'm a bit lost.
So isn't one of the
Is it
things
okay if
that's
we-
going,
I didn't want to open it up. Oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
sorry. So one of the things that I'm going to attempt to answer Mary's,
Okay.
one of the things that is going on in the sixth trumpet, which also partly corresponds with the time frame of the sixth kingdom, is that there's no, well, maybe not the sixth trumpet, but the sixth kingdom, the line, especially what Parminder has been teaching recently, is that there's no one king of the north during that history. There might be battles, and that's what I'm seeing here. Even with Uriah Smith saying Turkey was the king of the north, and even we have battles within Russia and the Austro-Hungarian Empire in the late 1800s, early 1900s, prelude to the First and Second World Wars. There are battles for domination, and maybe Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, is just one of those players trying to gain the title of worldwide dominator. The first time the papacy chose wrong, once it resurrected in 1899, I think Tess put out there. They first chose Germany in World War II as their beast to ride, and that failed. But there seems to be this battle throughout the history of the Sixth Kingdom for who's going to be the worldwide leading power. And that includes the Ottoman Empire for a time, which is why Uriah Smith sees Turkey as that, but then Austro-Hungary, Russia, Germany, all of those factor in as well. And we don't actually see a victor until the Seventh Kingdom, until 1989, perhaps.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to move on if that's all right. So, is everyone happy with that? Is that completed? We finished? Might help if you could
Address the deadly wound.
address the deadly wound. What would you like to address?
I don't know. I mean, and you have any thoughts?
Sorry?
Do you have any thoughts?
Does anyone have any thoughts?
You.
2021.
Is it 2021 or Sunday Law 2024? Those seem to be the two options, 21 or 24.
21 is when the U.S. leaves Afghanistan, which opens up the way for the East Wind.
Why would you say, and why would we say, yeah, so I fully agree with that. And that also matches the woe you have here which would be 9/11 and 11/9. Let me do it right. This third row, you have the Afghan war, and that opens up for 9/11 to happen, basically. And the fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban, I think we held it for 20 years. The Taliban took it back in 8 days. I think that's something like that. And I strongly believe that could open the way for the east wind to kill the army of Rome. So that looks good. 2024, why would that be a deadly wound to the army of Rome? And we're talking about
I don't
something
know.
that's-
I was
Yeah.
thinking that that was what Terry was suggesting, was that 24 was when when Navalny died, when Russia starts to collapse, rather than 21.
That's a
Maybe
different
I have that
entity, though.
This isn't the deadly wound and death of Russia. It's the deadly wound and death of the army of Rome.
That's right. Okay, never mind.
Wait. Okay. Any other observations? So if you've got a 2 here, you've got to have a 2 here. No, this way around. If you've got a 2 here, you have to have a 2 here. 4 years, 4 years. If you've got 4 years here, you have to have 4 years here. You happy to close there?
So we're looking at
Another
this year.
4.
4 years after 2021, we're looking at imminent.
And there's 3 months left.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh, goodness.
So you're saying Daniel 12:1, 2025, Islam is going to kill the army of Rome. Okay, so September the 20th today, September the 19th, yesterday, let me read it because I can't do anything. What I'm saying is, if you figured this out and you're saying your time setting, just like Elder Parminder had the confidence to use this model to time set, if you're doing the same thing, time setting for Daniel 12:1, then that's just, if it's correct, then that would be an internal message to the movement. Okay, so how do I say this? Okay, so I'm just going to say it this way. So you would expect the external messengers, the media or whoever, to be giving the same message. Okay, yesterday.
Maybe 2021 can't be the deadly wound because that would look like a self-inflicted deadly wound. Is that wrong to say? Sorry, just sharing my scrambled thought.
So that
Because
was self-inflicted death.
okay,
Is that self-inflicted? They acquiesced? Good point. And I'm starting to get confused about lots of things, basically. Okay, basically, NCTC, National Counterterrorism Center. National Counterterrorism Center warns of a credible Al-Qaeda threat to the homeland. This is DNI.gov, Department of National Intelligence.gov. I'll put the document.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, could you repeat that?
National Counterterrorism Center warns of a credible Al-Qaeda threat to the homeland, to America.
When was that given, Aaron?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay. Thank you.
So my point is, if all of this is correct, perhaps the external messengers got the same message out. So this is the DNI, Department of National Intelligence, I think. I'm going to send it all to you. You can check out the names and all of that. Al-Qaeda's recent calls to conduct attacks in the US highlights its enduring threat to public safety. And then it goes on advising first responders and so forth. And then if you scroll to the bottom, it tells you aviation, symbolic economic targets, government and public officials. Because I'm me, I can't hold back that I've been watching Sarah Adams for the last few months, ex-CIA targeter. And basically, I tend to believe her. I won't leave you there. I'll explain a little bit. I didn't want to get into her. I just couldn't hold that in. She's saying okay, so she's ex-CIA. She spent 10 years in the CIA. When she left the CIA, she opened up her own intelligence company, business, I don't know what it's called. She's done work in Ukraine recently. She did a congressional hearing investigation, presented it to Congress on Benghazi. Okay, she's very active today. And what she and her team, Task Force Pineapple or something like that, are saying, they've been saying it for about a year, I think, maybe 6 months or a year. They've been saying that on the anniversary of the Bojinka plot, the 20th anniversary, you'd have to look up when the Bojinka plot was. They wanted to do a massive, she calls it 9/11.20, which I think is ironic because we basically say that. We say this is just the harbinger of this. It's a bit like 9/11 2.0. Okay, let's leave that there. Okay, so we don't have time to go into this, but I think that's very credible. I believe that for what it's worth. I'm not good at these things, I could be wrong. But maybe next time we can look into if this fits or not. I think it does. I can't find any other date or event or anything. Okay, I've still got 5 minutes, so let me, any questions? Keep it to questions, for me to clarify anything.
Could you share the notes with that elder test that you had? Is that possible? Or
you bring up an important point. So this is just my decision. It could be wrong. I think if I shared it with the whole group and it would make its way around the whole movement, and these were Tess's personal notes, I don't think that would be a good idea. I know I quoted from them, but only about 2 paragraphs.
maybe just the quotes that you share with us, not
Sure.
everything, that'd be
By
great.
the way, I have shared those notes wholesale with literally 1 or 2 people so that I'm not going to get away. Let me put it this way, crudely, no one can accuse me of sort of lying or fabricating what she said or anything, because then those people, if I did that today, those people would say, that wasn't in her notes, you made that up, or you lied or something. So I did that just for, what's it called when you're answerable?
Accountability.
Transparency.
So we've got 5 minutes. So I said, so out of all of this, I'm just going to speed in now. I think that is very solid. So this is Elder Parminder. That's solid, and the whole model is solid. And this one as well. Okay, we put a light green ticks. It's going to make it look good. So I think that's solid. And he used that to time set. He had confidence in it. By the way, we could look into how I think that came true later in another presentation. I think this is good. And this is good. So that was FFA, that was Elder Test, that was Elder Parminder. That's the same FFA. This is Elder Test. I think all of that's good. Personally, I think that's good. I'm going to put a tick on this one because I can't refute it. You know what I'm like? I try to argue against myself, to pressure test. Is it called pressure test something? You have to try to fight against it, prove it wrong. So far, I haven't been able to, but someone else might be able to. And if so, then we could remove that tick, perhaps. I thought about things like that was September, but I don't think we do month to month. I don't think we've done it anywhere. So, okay, so this is the weakest link, but I think it's the only one. Okay, because this is talking about the deadly wound, the death of empires, countries, yeah. a country or an empire, America. This doesn't really fit. It's the deadly wound and death of an individual. Having said that, we do put Muhammad there. Okay, so there's one red flag. Second is that was the death, decline of an empire. I've said this already. It's all the death, decline of an empire. The caliphate only increased in strength and size after the death of Muhammad. In fact, loads more than Muhammad. So, oh, king and kingdom. Thank you.
Yeah, good point, Troy.
I was thinking because it's what he represented.
Right.
The king died here.
Yeah.
And the king died here, and they're exact.
Yep.
They line up even.
Got it.
Thank you for that. That might be not so bad that it's Muhammad and not the caliphate, the empire. We'll think about that. Okay. And I said, in the interests of honesty, Tess's notes, Elder Tess, I think she decided, or she was leaning strongly towards that actually not being Muhammad. And we had got that wrong. She was leaning towards it being Abu Bakr, and I don't have time to go into it. But I'll end with a nice little story. I know Gloria is here. I don't know if Sam is here. Sam will. But Gloria will probably remember. Excellent memory, better than mine. Gloria, I messed up big time a few years ago, and you, thankfully, you were the one that brought it out in time, and you're probably not even aware of it. Try to remember the date for me. That would really help. But I was teaching Psalm 1, and we were doing Revelation 9, and I had just done a class with Tess, like that week or the week before, and she laid out all the logic that this is Abu Bakr, and she'd never presented it publicly. Me with my big mouth, I'm teaching Sam Revelation 9, and I'm teaching everything that she taught me, that this is Abu Bakr. And then, thankfully, Gloria, you brought it up to someone, Elder Parminder, or I can't remember, I think Elder Parminder, and I shouldn't have done that. That was a bad mistake, apology section, because what happened, well, first of all, she should have presented it publicly. And at the time, gender equality was still relatively new. And what happened back in the day, whatever, 100, 200 years, if you were a female author, you had to publish your work under your husband's name. And it felt a bit like I was taking a woman, Elder Tess's discovery or whatever, taking it for myself. And all that. So luckily it wasn't something that went out publicly, it was just Sam. And I don't know if Sam's here, but he might remember sweating and panicking. I was texting saying, please don't ever mention that I did that. Try to forget it. And if you don't mind, please delete your notes. Do you remember that, Gloria?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I have a feeling it was something like December 2021. But either way, it doesn't really matter when. Okay. So then I started to wonder, let's say Abu Bakr is the fifth trumpet star fallen from heaven and not Muhammad. Does that mean using this model, we can't just put Muhammad there? Is it a different model, or am I stretching it too much? I feel like I'm making excuses to try and make it fit. So we've got two problems. Again, I think everywhere is strong. This is the weakest. It's got two problems. This is a king and not a kingdom. Does that matter? Because the kingdom did the exact opposite. It went stronger and stronger. It's a king and not a kingdom. And should this be Abu Bakr or not? Maybe Elder Tess would have backed away from it. I don't know. She seemed fairly convinced. She wasn't ready to teach it though. But anyway, is Abu Bakr the fallen star? And even if he is, can we just use Muhammad for this model? Deadly wound and death. Because obviously what I tried to look into is the deadly wound and death of Abu Bakr. And it didn't work. So I'm right on
Personally,
time. Go ahead.
I don't think that I don't think Abu Bakr was the founder of the movement. I mean, that's the thing that sticks to my mind, but maybe you're not wanting answers, just tossing that out for everybody to think about.
Good thoughts. We're out of time, so I won't even go into why she thought it was Abu Bakr and not Muhammad. I've got a feeling you can. Oh my word! I think this doesn't have to be the fallen star, does it? You're actually right. I think I'm glad you did say it. Muhammad is in this trumpet history, and he's at the beginning of it before Abu Bakr. So you may have answered.
Yeah.
Troy may have answered the problem number 1, and you may have answered problem number 2, because then you would just put Abu Bakr here as the fallen star. But Muhammad is the prophetic actor that comes before him. Off the top of my head, I'm happy with that. So we'd have to carry on studying. Well done. Thank you both. Okay. Any last thoughts for our closing prayer? Let's close in prayer. Almighty God in heaven, we thank you for good friends and good fellowship, and we thank you for this good message, and we pray that you'll be with us now, even until the end. In Jesus' name, amen.